So, hallo, hier sind wir wieder und diesmal reden wir über die Kampagne von Infinite Warfare. Hier habe ich natürlich zwei Leute, die sich ein bisschen auskennen. Einmal, could you just mention your name again?
Sure. My name is Brian Bloom. I play Captain Nick Reyes, and I was a writer on the game with Taylor.
And I'm Taylor Kurosaki. I'm the narrative director, and he's the only writer of the game.
Genau, das sind die zwei Jungs, mit denen ich mich jetzt unterhalten werde. Und ja, dann legen wir gleich mal los. Alright, I've seen the trailer and there's some weird stuff going on, I think, with two human races. I don't really get it. The first time I saw the trailer, I thought this one human-looking race would be aliens, but I noticed that they aren't. So, are you able to say anything about the story yet? Like, what is it about?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Call of Duty to us means sort of human conflict, and this game is no different. It just so happens that this other group of humans, they associate more with where they live now than where they come from, and where they come from is Earth, just like us. But that distance that has grown between us, sort of literally and figuratively, has allowed a sort of a movement, a doctrine to take hold that really sees itself as almost the rightful owners of the solar system, as it were. And they have got it in their gotten set in their minds that they would like to rid the solar system of all of us on Earth. And so it's a terribly dire situation, and it's an incredible amount of pressure to put on Captain Reyes and his crew.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that may be of interest is that the expectation that this would be alien or anything like that. We see this as Taylor said, as characters and people and war, conflict, and as ancient as conflict is between human beings, wherever there's resources, ideologies, and borders involved, there's a chance for people to resolve, escalate, or de-escalate those conflicts. And Infinite Warfare is no different. These people are far away. But the conflict is very much the same as if they were here. They have an entirely different view, an entirely different mindset, and they've got our way of life, as many people do here terrestrially, in their reticle.
So we asked our community and to ask you some questions, and there was one question they always mentioned, and it was, why have you decided to use a story in science fiction, a science fiction story? Yeah.
Sure. Well, we don't look at it as science fiction. I mean, everything you're seeing in Infinite Warfare is sort of based on either technology that exists today, or the state of the world as it exists today, and Call of Duty has often said that it's been ripped from the headlines, and this is just sort of like an extension of that. We are running out of certain natural resources here on Earth, and we need those resources to sustain life as we know it. And where a lot of those resources are not in short supply is out in other planetary bodies in our solar system. And the chairman of the X Prize Foundation has gone on the record as saying that the first trillionaire that the world will ever see is the person who could successfully mine an asteroid for resources and bring those resources back. And so that again is a rich sort of setting to create a conflict around, and it's not a big extrapolation to make that happen, and so really for us, it is traditional warfare, like many other wars have been, and it just so happens that this particular setting that we're telling our story in gives us the opportunity to introduce some really interesting new mechanics alongside the Call of Duty mechanics that everyone already knows and loves.
All right. Have you been inspired by some other movies or games while writing Infinite Warfare?
Yeah, I mean, we look at Black Hawk Down, we look at Saving Private Ryan, we look at Apocalypse Now, we look at Battle of the Bulge, we look at movies. Again, as Taylor's been saying, these are characters thrown into conflict and using weapons to resolve those conflicts. And in that way, it's an ancient story as much as it's a current story, as much as it's a future story. You could look at Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield, look at the Spartans, or you could look ahead. When we talk to Top Gun pilots, we ask them, what's next? and they look up and they're not looking at the sky, they're looking at space. And the militarization of space, for better or for worse, has been widely reported, certainly not by us. This is not our prediction. And it's exciting to move into that area because less than science fiction, it's scientific. We have levels in the game where you are up against your enemy, but you are also up against your environment. This is a harsh environment. It's impossible to survive there. The durability and dependability of your weapons, your suit, and your team around you are just as or more important than they've ever been in any conflict. Because if you're not going down range in a target-rich environment shooting on enemies, you have a place where there's no oxygen, you have a place where there's no gravity, you have a place where you're dealing with temperatures and other environmental factors and conditions that are rallying against your survival. So that makes it even more exciting. Our players have a chance to go up against our enemy, but their atmosphere or lack thereof is also their enemy in this game.
All right. What made you decide to cast Kit Harington? I think his name. Yeah. So what made you decide to cast him?
Well, Kit Harington is he's a tremendous, and he's actually also a really, really nice guy. And when we showed him the material, because we were interested in working with him, he took to it right away. He understood what the role required, and he was very, very excited to play this particular role. So we felt incredibly lucky to get to work with him. And the enthusiasm he brought for the role and the professionalism he displayed was absolutely something to behold. And I think for him it was a new challenge. You know, we are all, as sort of creators, looking to challenge ourselves in new and different ways. And I think for Kit, the challenge was to embody an enemy, to sort of define an enemy, really. You know, he is one of this enemy, but he's a very prominent one of this enemy, and so the responsibility of personifying an entirely new culture was, I think, something that was a challenge to him and something that he wanted to undertake, and I think it turned out great.
All right. Today, Conor McGregor tweeted that he's going to be in the new Call of Duty. Which role is he going to play?
Well, Conor McGregor, that's an interesting one. I will say that he is another face of the enemy. We're not going to delve into that too much, but keeping your eyes peeled, because he is a up close and personal face of the enemy. And if our intrepid fans look more closely, maybe they'll see him in other places in the game as well.
All right, sounds interesting. So you play Captain Reyes in Infinite Warfare. How is it to play like a video game character? It's a whole new challenge, as far as I guess.
It's an amazing experience to play a video game character, but playing Captain Reyes was probably the most exciting role that I've played, certainly in the video game space, by what we call a country mile. This is a guy who, you know, our characters are SCARs. They are Special Combat Air and Recon Soldiers. It's this fantastic fusion of a Top Gun pilot and a Navy SEAL. To get out onto the set with Taylor, to take our pages, to take the characters that we created and work with this amazing cast, Jamie Gray Hyder, David Harewood, and others. We, you know, noticed something from the movies we were talking about before. You know, one of the things that makes a conflict more of an immersive, powerful experience is having a team around you that you care about. You care about the fates not only of your countrymen, but you care about the people you're in the foxhole with. And Infinite Warfare has got an amazing cast of diverse characters, some really powerful women, an international cast, and it was terrific to get out onto set and to watch these people take the pages, bring them to life. We worked together for over a year and a half. We did multiple sessions, and what's really interesting about this game is we shot these scenes like movies together. Even in game, when you see the characters interacting, moving with each other, we went out onto our motion capture volume and we shot those things together with Taylor directing, and it was a treat, and I think it'll translate into the kind of chemistry that our players will feel as they're on the stick and they're playing the single player campaign. They'll look around, they'll go, this is my team, these are people I want to get in a foxhole with.
All right. I've heard there's going to be a split screen. Are you also able to play co-op modus in the story?
No. For us, it was incredibly important to put our players into the boots, literally, of Captain Reyes, because we really wanted to observe and participate in the opening hours of this war through him and from his perspective. And that means that each and every player plays as Reyes. So this particular story that we wanted to tell, co-op just didn't fit with the themes that we were trying to get across. You know, by the end of this story, you're going to know what it is like to not only be a seasoned soldier, a warrior, but you're going to know what it's like to be a leader of hundreds of men, and to have that responsibility and to carry that burden. It's an incredibly difficult job. I mean, being in the service in any way, shape, or form is an incredibly difficult job, but in some ways being a leader and having that responsibility on your shoulders is maybe even a tougher job than that. And we thought that for our player base, who has played as many of these games as they have, going into this new space and seeing war through this new perspective, we thought would be really interesting to them, and that's exactly why you're going to be playing really from the get-go as Reyes, and never sort of break the immersion of seeing the world through his eyes.
All right. Are there going to be different difficulty settings? Like in Black Ops 3, you could play on realistic. Is there something in this area?
There are different difficulty settings. I'm not exactly sure what we're talking about just yet in terms of what those difficulty settings are, but yes, stay tuned.
All right, it sounds interesting. What about the playtime? How long will the story be?
The story of Infinite Warfare, the single-player campaign, is right in line with what you expect from a Call of Duty campaign. I mean, it's not going to feel it's sitting right in that pocket of what our players have come to expect as the appropriate campaign length for the single player.
All right. So I have to think about another question. I think. Hast du noch eine Frage? I think we have everything we wanted to know. Yeah, but thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Das war das Interview. Ein bisschen chaotisch, aber naja, ich hoffe, es war trotzdem interessant. Dann verabschiede ich mich und ciao.